so excited. Looks like we're having some technical difficulties. Good evening and welcome. I am so excited to have you here with me tonight. My name is Benir Pierre. I am an intuitive life coach and abundance strategist. And tonight I want to talk with you about emotional alchemy. I know that right now tensions are so high in the world, and I just figured that this will be a really great time to talk about how to really tap into your personal power to create the change that you want to see. With a lot of things that are happening, of course, the world has been in quarantine for months. And then to add to that, in America, we are experiencing a lot of So, part of me wants to say that we are now experiencing a lot of racial unrest and political unrest, but the truth is that it's nothing new. Being a woman of color in America, the truth is that this has been a lived experience for a very long time. And I know that many of you can relate to this. And so what's happening in the world now, it adds on to the trauma that many Americans and many people of color in the world have experienced for a lifetime. So add to that the energy of being stuck in the house, add to that the repeated loss of having loved ones passing away from coronavirus, add to that the confusion and the misinformation and just everything that's happening right now. It's a very stressful time for the collective. And a lot of people are not really sure about what they should be doing right now. Many people want to be involved with the protests, but their way of activism doesn't quite look like what they're seeing on television. There are a lot of people who are wanting to create change for their communities. They know that it's needed. They feel this pull and this tug as healers, but they have no idea what that change looks like. And so today I want to talk with you about ways that you can take this energy that you're feeling, whether you are feeling on top of the moon or you're feeling at the bottom of the barrel, ways that you can take this energy, transmute it, really get the lesson that it's here to bring you, and then create the change that you desire to see. So as I stated, my name is Benir Pierre. I'm an intuitive life coach and abundance strategist for purpose-driven leaders and visionaries who desire to heal their relationship with self, God, and money. I help you create the massive world impact, the unapologetic freedom, and the multi-generational wealth that you were born for. And so let's talk a little bit before we jump into some of these juicy topics I have ahead for you. Let's talk a little bit about what transmutation is in the first place. Again, tonight I'll be sharing a number of tools that I use to transmute energy. We'll be talking about sex magic, so make sure that you grab a boo or, grab your battery-operated boyfriend and a notebook and tune in. We're going to have so much fun tonight. So what does it mean to transmute energy? I realize that a lot of the terms that we use when we talk about manifestation, when we talk about energy, it can be really confusing. And there are so many people who have this spiritual elitism that makes it feel like you have to be part of the cool kids club to really understand what many of these terms mean. So first, I want to start with really getting clear on what I'm talking about when I use some of these terms. So first and foremost, transmutation simply is to change the nature of a thing. So generally, when you're hearing someone talk about transmuting energy, what they mean is changing low vibrating or stagnant energy into a more creative or productive energy. I pause for a moment because one thing that happens in the spiritual community that can be very counterproductive is spiritual bypass. And so often there's this idea that we should love and light our way through everything. We should be so positive and always high vibe. And I truly feel that that is BS. If you haven't had an opportunity to catch the Heal Thyself Summit, we had an amazing conversation about what it means to really use the gift of agitation. And so positivity can sometimes be used as a means of bypass. So when I talk about transmuting energy and changing energy, I'm not saying to bypass what you're actually feeling. One really, really important component of using energy to work for you is recognizing and being present with the energy that's showing up. So before we go any further into this, before I teach you any tools, it's really important to understand that our emotions, our experiences, our feelings, our energy is here for a reason. The lessons are here for a reason. So when we transmute that energy, when we alchemize that energy, this isn't about pretending like we don't feel what we feel or, thinking our way positive. This is about really squeezing out the lessons that are there, squeezing out the information, and then using the raw energy of that to create change. So again, transmutation simply means to change the form of a thing. In this case, we're talking about emotional energy. So I talked about how important it is to get the lessons of your emotions. So I want to talk a little bit about what that means. Generally, when we're thinking about emotions, most folks are okay with the emotions that they deem to be positive. And, I hesitate with saying positive because I don't think that emotions are positive or negative. Sometimes we demonize what we feel. But the truth is, again, it's all here to teach us a lesson. So often we find that it's easier to flow with the emotions that feel good. It's easier to flow with the emotions that are happy and that are lively. But sometimes when we feel emotions that are uncomfortable, the first thing we want to do is get rid of them as quickly as possible. And that can be very dangerous because what we resist persists. So if you try to run from it, what happens when you run from something? It chases you. So that fear that you're feeling, there's this mantra in the spiritual community of feel the fear and do it anyway. And while it's absolutely necessary to move sometimes even when fear is present, if we don't take time to get the lesson, the fear is going to keep showing up and it doesn't stay in one place in your life. So I want you to think about the current events that you're dealing with in your personal life. Whether or not that's affected by what's happening globally, whether or not that's affected by what's happening on the news, when you think about your personal life and a personal challenge that you've been facing, how does that show up in other areas of your life? So, for example, if you're feeling maybe a lack of clarity, not really sure which direction to go right now, feeling led to create something major, but you're really not sure, is this the appropriate culture? Is it okay? Will I step on feet if I promote my business? When you're feeling that uncertainty, where else does that show up in your life? How does that show up in your relationships when you're not feeling confident about your abilities? How does that show up in your love life when you're not feeling confident in your abilities? I absolutely can say beyond a shadow of a doubt that personally, when I am not feeling so secure about myself and I'm not feeling the sexiest and I'm not feeling the bravest, sometimes it can be really hard to show up as sexy and confident and brave in a relationship where I know that I'm fully honored for being all of those things. So I just want you to think about your personal life. How is what you're experiencing and how you're feeling showing up in other areas of your life? Again, what we resist persists. So it's really important to understand, what is it trying to tell you? So when we think of those uncomfortable emotions, generally they're going to fall under three categories of emotional families. So we're going to have the sad family, we'll have the fear family or the afraid family, and the mad family. And under each of these families, it's any range of this emotion. So sad can be anything from a little bit disappointed to devastated and, completely enthralled in grief. In the same way, fear can be a little bit nervous or it can be terrified. But however it's showing up, generally what we need when those emotions show up remains the same. So I want to talk a little bit about each of those emotional families so that when, again, we get into transmuting that energy, you understand how to use this to actually create change while still working through what you're feeling. So transmutation is not about spiritual bypass. Transmutation is about really being able to get the lesson, get the meat, get the message, and then use that raw energy. So in the SAD family, and I'm just going to quickly go through these. I will have some classes a little bit later going into depth over each of these concepts, but I want to make sure that we are comparing apples to apples. So when we start talking about the juicy stuff, you understand exactly what I mean. So when we talk about the SAD family, again, generally, this is as a result of some sort of loss. And sometimes SAD can be as a result of a perceived loss. So have you ever been, and generally that shows up hand in hand with fear. So there's a fear of the perceived loss, perceived danger, and then there's the sadness because you're already reacting to what has been lost. Can anyone relate with that? Have you ever had any experience where you are already afraid or already feeling the loss of something? And, often that can then manifest as us doing everything we can do to avoid that loss. So generally, when you're feeling sad and there's a loss, what you need to work through that is going to be time and space. And you get to choose what space looks like for you. You get to choose if space looks like support or if it means time alone. But generally, it takes some time to get over the loss. It takes some space. It takes a shift of perspective. And it doesn't mean that all of a sudden we stop missing that thing that we lost. It's very vital that when we can, we go back and get the pieces of us that we have lost along the way. And so we can't just replace the things that we lost with something new. But what it does mean is now that we recognize what we need, we can focus on advocating for what we need. I often say that if you don't want something, take it off the menu, right? So in this case, if we don't want the grief that comes along with loss, if we don't want the pain, if we don't want the depression that can sometimes come along with loss, then by allowing yourself to work through it, get what you need from it, then you can really take that emotional energy and focus it on something else as you are creating and advocating for the time and space that you need. Right? So the next type of emotional family or the next emotional family, and thank you, Jessica. Jessica says you spitting. So the next emotional family is going to be fear. So again, this is anything going from nervousness to being terrified. And sometimes this fear can be as a result of things that you have experienced. So usually fear shows up when there is a sense of danger. But the thing that happens when you are in a constant state of stress and your cortisol levels are high and you're constantly in this space of fight or flight, your body reads and reacts to things as danger that may not actually be as dangerous as it feels. And so I'm sure that you can relate to, for example, a speech that you had to give or a new client you were meeting. And you may have felt so nervous and terrified. Oh my God, what am I going to say? Is it going to work out? And sometimes with fear, we're borrowing these worries from the future because, again, there is a perceived danger. How many of you know that perception is everything? So when we are feeling fear, what we need is safety. What we need is protection. And so one way to advocate for safety and protection is to actually create a plan. And that's one reason that we have disaster plans. So the idea is not to plan for a disaster or to manifest a disaster, but it is to be prepared in case one shows up. And so I want you to think about the fears that you are experiencing. In what way can you advocate for your safety? What can you do to make sure that you have a plan in place so that the thing that you're fearing doesn't have so much power over you? And again, you're able to tap into that power so that what was fear now is raw energy, but you have a solution for how to focus that energy. And really that's what all of this is about, is really being able to focus our energy. Often when we're feeling emotions and we can't really identify those emotions, we can't tap into emotions, what happens is that we have all of this energy that's being wasted, all of this energy that is not being utilized, not being focused on the things that we want. And the truth is that fear is absolutely one of those energies that helps us manifest so quickly. Anxiety 100% falls into the fear category. Now, this isn't talking about the, what's happening neurologically when it comes to fear and depression. But when we think of the symptoms of fear and depression, yes, absolutely. Anxiety absolutely shows up. The symptoms of anxiety, rather, would fall under the fear category. And I just want to go ahead and acknowledge everyone that's saying, hey, I see that Shaw said that present anxiety, that sense of danger, is something that she constantly felt when she was active duty. So, I definitely, absolutely can understand that. So what happens though is sometimes when we are in this space of fear and we're not recognizing it, we're not listening to the messages and how it's showing up and what it's trying to tell us, what can happen is that we then have all of this energy focused on the thing that we fear. And manifestation, I say it every single time, and so I will say it once more. Manifestation is really simple, guys. Manifestation is simply having clear intention. So what are you focusing on? Where's your focus? That's the intention. The second thing is having faith. So another word for faith is belief. So when we think of faith, often we think of faith for what we desire. But the truth is that sometimes that belief can be so strong and it's focused on the thing that we don't desire. And so when we have the intention, the focus, and the belief, the fear, coupled with the action, which is aligned with that focus and fear. And so sometimes that action might look like being afraid that we're not going to get into the spaces that we know that we deserve to occupy. And so we play ourselves short. And then our aligned action is us aligning with things that don't actually serve us just because we knew that we could get in, right? So sometimes what happens is we manifest those things super quickly because there's so much energy. So when we identify what is fear here to tell me, How can I protect myself? What is the perceived danger here? How can I plan? Then we can take that energy that once was fear and focus that on creation. Finally, the final anger family, or I'm sorry, the final emotional family rather, is anger, or the mad family. And so with the mad family, this is going to be anything from just a little bit irritated, like, oh, he cut me off, to enraged at the social injustice that is happening around the world. With the anger family, the message that anger comes to bring is, hey, my boundary has been crossed. Hey, that didn't feel very good. I didn't like that. Anger is essentially saying that there is an implied or implicit agreement that has been broken. And so many of us right now are feeling like the implied and implicit agreement for people who are sworn into office to protect and serve, you guys aren't standing up to that agreement, and we are pissed. We are angry. We are hurting. And one way that we work through that anger is to recognize, first off, what is the agreement that's been broken? Was this actually an agreement that was negotiated upon, or is this something that I decided, that I expected, and we know that expectation is the root of suffering? Is this something that I expected you to go along with because that's what I would do? That's what a normal human being would do. That's what a loving human being would do. And all of these shoulds that we put into the pot. And so if we recognize that it's an implied agreement, or if it's an implicit agreement and, we said this is how you were going to handle things and you went back on your word, you didn't tell me. What we need to do then is renegotiate those contracts, renegotiate those agreements that we have made. And so when possible, of course, we want to renegotiate the agreement with the person who overstep that boundary. But sometimes that's renegotiating the agreement that we've made with ourselves. When we think about the agreements that we make as it relates to our power and how we show up and what we're capable of, what agreements have you made that are no longer in alignment with who you are today? What implied or implicit agreements have been broken? And how can you renegotiate that contract? Right now, we are renegotiating contracts that said that Black and brown bodies are not valued in this country. We are renegotiating some of those agreements. What agreements do you need to renegotiate in your life? What agreements are you maybe not aware of that were made long before you? When we talk about the history of trauma in this world and how that trauma is passed down in our genetics, there are some agreements that you're living out right now that you never chose. And so it's time to renegotiate some of those agreements. And so when we come back, I'm going to talk about the ways that we can begin to renegotiate the agreements that we've made, the ways that we can take the lessons that we've learned from the mad family, the sad family, from the fearful family, and really use that raw energy to create the change we want to see. We'll be back in a minute. And we are back. If you are watching with us, go ahead and share this out with a friend. If you're finding some great value, let me know in the comments. I would love to talk back with you. So today we are talking about how to create emotional alchemy, how to transmute emotions and create the change we desire to see. Before the break, we talked a little bit about the different types of emotions and how that shows up. And so now I want to talk about how we receive information and how we can then use that to manipulate what we experience. So I talked a little bit again about what transmutation is. And so now that you have worked through these feelings, you've worked through the anger, you worked through the fear, you worked through the sadness, you still feel this energy in your body, but what do we do with it? Well, let's talk about how to actually use that. So first off, we receive information through our senses. And what happens is, as we receive information, we delete the things that don't make sense. You know, we literally receive millions of pieces of information every second. So there's no way that our brain can possibly comprehend everything that we get. And so our brain deletes the things that doesn't make sense. We distort things to make it fit in with our perception or what we already believe. There is absolutely confirmation bias. And the thing is, beliefs are actually not based on facts. And so you don't even need facts to back up what you're believing. You only need to believe it. And so we receive information, and if it doesn't fit in with what we already believe, then we distort that so that then it fits in. And then we generalize. And there's so much of that happening right now. And if you have been in any type of Facebook comment that battle, and I often say, stay out of the comments, do yourself a favor. Self-care is resistance. And so self-care sometimes looks like staying out of the comments. But if you have been in, any Facebook comments recently, then I'm sure you have seen this played out. Even though information is being presented and people are receiving it through their senses and they have access to the exact same information you do, they understand it differently because of how they delete, distort, and generalize. And so when we talk about your clair abilities, again, you receive information through your senses, so through your eyes, your ears, your taste, your feeling, your smell, right? When we talk about your clair abilities, this is just having a clear sense. So this essentially means that you receive information more clearly through these particular senses. So clairvoyance, and I'm not going to go too deep, but as we get into this, I just want it to make sense, right? So clairvoyance is you have clear sight. You see things clearly, right? And so it's really important that we understand how we best receive information. You can probably think back to classes that you've taken. How did you best learn? Are you a visual learner? Are you an auditory learner? Are you a kinesthetic learner? That can begin to give you some clues as to how you personally receive information. But the wonderful thing is that even when our brain doesn't remember, our body remembers. So all of these millions of pieces of information that we're receiving every second, even though our brain can't comprehend and make sense of it, our body is able to do so. And so sometimes when you are wanting to shift your energy quickly, going through your brain is the long route. And so it's really important to go through your senses. So again, you have your visual senses, you have your auditory, your sense of smell, gustatory, your sense of taste, and your sense of touch. So I want to talk a little bit about how to use those different senses to change energy. So before I get into that, I want to just acknowledge one of the comments. I see Giovanna said she will keep scrolling. Please do yourself a favor. There is so much frustration that happens as a result of being in the comments. And if you have been watching this so far and you're realizing, right now my self-care is not where it should be, and I need the self-care of scrolling past. I need the self-care of really being with my feelings and honoring where I am. Then I definitely want to encourage you to stay until the end of this broadcast. I actually have a very special gift that I would like to give. I believe that self-care is holistic. And that means that it needs to take into account your physical, emotional, mental, spiritual well-being. And so part of that for me absolutely is scrolling past those comments. But if you need a self-care plan that really helps you take into consideration all of the different phases, all of your emotional states, all of the different areas that you may need support with, then again, go ahead, stay till the end of this broadcast. I have an amazing resource that I will be giving away. Not quite free, but almost. It's $1. It's pay what you can. So almost free. So I'll be telling you a little bit more about that later. But let's get into how we can use our senses. So the first sense I want to go over is sight, since I see that a number of you have said that you are, yes, that's going to be Claire Gustent. Deepa. Deepa asked if there is a clear ability for the sense of smell, and that is Claire Gustent. So since a lot of you have said that you're visual learners, let's start there. Hey, Lanita, thank you so much for dropping in. So if you notice that you receive information through sight, and it's easiest for you to connect with information that you receive through sight. One thing that's really going to be helpful for you in shifting energy. So again, if you are just now tuning in, I want you to make sure that you catch the replay, because we're not talking about bypassing the energy that you feel. So once you have worked through and gotten the lessons you need to, then to take that raw energy. Sight is a really great way to change that. So one way that I do that is simply having beautiful things around me. I believe that you are what you eat. You are what you consume. And so the things that you have around you create your reality. Our outside world is simply a reflection of our inside world. And so if we want to change our outside world, we have to first change our inside world, right? So with that, I would start with having beautiful things around you. If you love having plants, have gorgeous plants, any signs of life around you, colors. Color intuition is a really, really powerful way that I work with clients to help them connect with their spiritual gifts. But just like you can tap into the intuition of color, you can also tap into the energy of color to use color to shift your energy. And so one simple way to do so is using coloring books. I actually, on my altar behind me, I have a number of coloring books. And sometimes when I just need to shut out and allow myself to dip down into my body and into my feelings, I just pull out the coloring book. So that can be a really great way if you receive information visually. Another way is visualization. So simply taking time to focus on, again, what you want to create. So really building this out in your mind. So one way that I do this with clients who like to write is through scripting. And so it's essentially like scripting, but instead of actually writing it out, you're going to play a movie for yourself. So for example, let's say that you love to go to the beach and you need to work through some things that you're feeling and you need to shift some energy, one way that you can do that, since a lot of the beaches are still closed right now, is to go ahead and play some sound meditation. I love sound. I'm actually clairaudient. And so for me, sound is one quick way that I shift my energy. And so play a meditation with some beach waves, for example, and allow yourself to fully embody and fully visualize being there at the beach. Smell the air, taste the salt in the air, hear the waves crashing, and visualize that picture. And as you go through this, literally allow yourself to create a movie of what you're desiring. That is a really, really fast way to just shift your energy and start to focus on what you want instead. Another really great way, and a lot of you actually probably do this, is using Pinterest. So, and really just using pictures, period. I say Pinterest simply because you can curate the types of boards that you want. And so one thing that I encourage you to do, and I assign this to my clients actually, is a self-care toolkit, if you will. And again, that resource that I'll be giving you is the self-care toolkit. So I'll tell you exactly how to do this. But the times that we most need self-care are usually the times when it's hardest to think of what we actually need. And so in this toolkit, essentially you are putting together your plan ahead of time, right? And so I have them sometimes use Pinterest boards and create a board, like your mental health board, your mental relaxation board, your emotional and spiritual self-care board, right? So fill it with all of the pictures that bring you to the space that helps you create, that brings you into a space of productivity or whatever that emotion is that you're wanting to experience. Again, there are full instructions for how to do that in the Holistic Self-Care Workbook, and you'll get the link for that a little bit later. Another way that you can use your senses to transmute energy is to use the sense of sound. So with the sense of sound, generally we are looking at things that so first, before I say that, sorry, I forgot to mention, of course, everything is energy. And so the reason that these things work is they operate at a certain vibration. If you look at colors, colors each have a different vibration. And so you notice that different colors affect you differently. And if you're into any type of marketing psychology, you're very aware of the psychology of color. There's also a psychology of sound. If you notice when you go into certain stores, they play that background music so that you shop longer, so that you're happier when you're in their stores. So there is a vibration that things put out. And I actually, and I have one next to me, I love sound bowls. So here is a beautiful Tibetan sound bowl that I have. And so when you work with the sound bowl, you can actually feel the vibration of sound. So that's why these things are working, is because it is changing the vibration around you. So music, again, really, really powerful way. I encourage you to create a self-care playlist. I have so many playlists, and if you want me to share them with you, absolutely drop a note. I will do so. I have so many playlists. I have, a manifestation playlist. I have an I'm feeling down playlist. I want to create some epic things and make a whole lot of money right now playlist. And so with each of those, they put me in a different energy. And again, that's explained in the Holistic Self-Care Workbook as well. So if you notice that you receive information through sound, then music can be a really powerful way for you to shift your energy. And I know that you probably, have Mary J. Blige has mastered using energy or using sound to shift energy. If you're feeling low, you're going through some type of heartbreak, turn on a good Mary J. Blige song, and all of a sudden you feel like you can burn down the world. And so this is just as simple as that. But the key is to be really intentional about the music and the sounds that you're adding to this list. Another way that you can use sound is through mantras. And I just want to acknowledge Cammie's question. So in just a second, I'll talk about how to choose the right sound bowl. But one way that you can use sound is through mantras. And so essentially this is just chanting. And so it's using the power of your own sound. And so for just a second, I just want you to make a low hum or speak a word, anything that you want, but take a moment and just vocalize something. And I want you to place your hand on your throat and feel the vibration of the sound as it leaves your throat. And so it's really important to understand the power and the vibration of words. There have been numerous studies that test the vibrations and the effects of words on everyday objects. And so there have been studies where actually, I believe that Danielle Laporte did one. I don't know if she created it, but she is where I heard about it from. So pardon me if she wasn't the creator. But essentially, she did an experiment with apples. And she cut the apple in half and put one in a jar, and for about 3 weeks spoke negative words into that jar. Spoke the things that she didn't want, spoke the things that were painful, spoke the things that we often say unconsciously, right? Then in the other jar, she spoke kind words, words of love, words that reflected what she desired to manifest. And after 3 weeks, she looked at both of these jars and noticed that the words that were spoken to the apple, I was going to say to the bad apple, but was it a bad apple, or did it become a bad apple because she spoke bad words? But she looked at the apple that she had been speaking negative words and giving low vibrational energy. And in that jar, the apple had rotted. In the other jar, the apple was perfectly fine and still good to eat weeks later. And so sound has energy. Sound is energy. And so, again, using mantras, speaking the things that you want, using chanting can be a really great way to tap into the energy of sound. So to answer Cammie's question, how do you choose the right sound bowl? So generally, sound bowls are tuned to a certain vibration. So when I say vibration, the way that vibration is simply the rate at which energy is moving. It's the movement of energy. And so the way that that's measured is through frequency. You've heard of frequency before. If you turn on the television, if you turn on a radio station, you have to turn to a certain frequency to get the sound that you're looking for. So if you're looking for V103, you have to turn to the frequency of 103.3, right? So each of the sound bowls are tuned to a different frequency. So this particular sound bowl, and I believe that the sound compression is on, so I'm not going to test it this time, but I will do a separate class where we talk specifically about sound healing. But with this specific sound bowl, this is one that is for the root chakra. And so, and I have another one actually, I don't know if you can see it on my altar behind me, but I have, so the one behind me is for your crown chakra. So essentially each of them have been crafted and tuned to a different frequency. That frequency matches the frequency that is optimal for our different energy centers. So that's the short answer, Cami. But I will do a class that goes into that much, much deeper. In the interest of time, though, I do want to move on and just quickly go over some of the other ones, because I know that a number of you are here wanting to hear all about how do we use sex. So that is actually the next one that I want to talk about. So the next way to shift your energy is through the sense of touch. So one really powerful way that I have from childhood have heard touch and shifting energy talked about in the religious community is this idea that clapping confuses the devil. Have you ever heard that? If you've heard that at church before, let me know. But there's actually truth to that. And so I want you for a moment to take your hands and I want you to rub them together for me. And I want you to feel the vibration in your hands. After a few seconds, you can actually feel the energy in your hands. And so, with that same idea, you can shift your energy by clapping. So yes, clapping absolutely does shift the energy quickly. Another really great way to shift your energy is to use cold water. If you are feeling nervous, if you're feeling, any type of energy that you need to really quickly release, let's say you're walking into a meeting. This is actually a trick I use before speaking engagements sometimes. So if you're getting ready to do something that has you a little bit nervous, and sometimes we label that extra energy floating around in our body as fear, but sometimes it's not fear. Sometimes it's just extra energy that needs to be focused. And so if that's the case for you and you're needing a way to quickly focus your energy, running your hands under cold water is one powerful way that, again, you can feel the energy move to your hands. As you are able to move energy through your body, and you can do that through breath work, you can do that through visualization. I actually do a really powerful exercise with my clients where I have them visualize light energy moving through their body, and you can actually feel it in the different places in your body. So that said, when you are using the sense of touch, you can then focus that energy to your hands. And now that it's in your hands, you can use your hands for creation, right? So speaking of hands, one really amazing way to use the power of touch to transmute energy is sex magic. And I will do a full class on this, but I want to really briefly touch on how this actually, if you have ever been confused about what is transmutation and what does that mean to change energy, this is a really great and quick way to explain it. So when you think about transmuting energy and you think about sexual energy, a lot of people have sex for the friction-based response, for the response of literally just your genitals reacting to friction. So the thing is that while, yes, that does work, I'm sure that a lot of women can attest that that probably doesn't do it. And I'm sure that that is not giving you the big O, which is why so many women have never actually had satisfying sex with a partner, because often it's about the wham bam, thank you ma'am, the friction that actually bypasses all of the energy that could be used. And so essentially with sex magic, what we are doing is slowing down a little bit and getting present in the moment, which I'm sure your partner would greatly appreciate anyway. And so this is actually one that you can do alone or with a partner, just a really quick exercise. And I would say to watch this a little bit later, because you'll want to just let yourself be in the moment with it without distraction. So put on your headphones or whatever you need to do. But essentially what you're going to do is, as you begin to build up sexual energy in whatever way you do so, and so whether, that's foreplay for you, whether that's light touch, one really, really powerful way to do so is with heart gazing. And so staring at your partner in the eyes and touching palm to palm with your legs over your partner's legs, and simply do circular breathing or cycle breathing. And so as you breathe out, your partner breathes in. As you breathe in, your partner's breathing out. So literally, you are sharing breath. And as you do this and you're present in the moment, allowing yourself to simply feel what's showing up for you. You can begin to touch your partner's skin, or if you're doing it with yourself, you can touch your own skin. And again, you can do the same thing in the mirror. So you don't need a partner to do this, right? So as you touch your skin, you'll begin to feel the energy building up. And so however you desire to move that energy to your genitals, you can go ahead and do so. I'll let you and your partner, or you and your battery operated boyfriend, figure that out. But what you're going to do before you allow yourself to finish, and this is, you may have heard of something called edging. So before you allow yourself to get to the point of climax, you're going to stop immediately and focus back on your breathing and move that energy, which now is in your genitals. You're going to move that throughout your body and literally feel the energy moving from your sacral chakra, down your legs, up your torso, up to your head. Allow yourself to fully be present and feel the energy moving. So as you move that energy, you'll then again move it back to your genitals in whatever preferred way you may have. And you'll do that a few times, again, edging. So as you get close, then you'll go back, pull out. So when you feel that you have enough energy built up, and you can feel it in your body, like it literally at some point, it's like, oh my God, would you please stop? Right? So as you feel this energy building up in your body, what you want to do is then focus all of your attention and all of your emotion on the thing that you're desiring to create in your life. So if you're doing this with a partner, you're going to want to talk about this ahead of time. Make sure that you get clear on what is this clear intention we're manifesting together. Are we believing this the same, right? Make sure that you have a very clear vision of what you want. But once you have the energy built up in your body, then I want you to focus all of that energy and all of that release on what you want. And like, you literally, as you allow yourself to release, and we're still going to focus on our breathing. Tantra, if you don't practice it, is very powerful. And there are a number of breathing exercises that you learn. So I definitely encourage you to just learn some new ways to connect with your partner. However, once you allow yourself to release by focusing all of that energy on the thing that you're wanting to create, what then happens is, talked about the raw energy of fear, the raw energy of anger, the raw energy of sadness. And so sex has a very raw energy. It is a primal energy, and it's actually one of our main physiological needs. And so once you take that energy and you focus it, and you literally can scream out new clients, money. Like a lot of people scream out, oh God, or Jesus, you can scream out what you want. So if you are using sex manifestation for world peace, you can literally scream out world peace and focus on world peace as you're getting yours. So just a couple tips. Again, we will be doing a full class on that. Over the next few weeks, I'll be releasing a number of classes. So I'm really excited to share all of this with you. But just wanted to give that tip for how to use touch. So moving on, one other way that I use my senses to transmute energy is the sense of smell. And so I actually have a number of manifestation products that help with that. So the first is candles. So I actually have one right here. This is one of my favorite candles. And not only do they smell amazing, and so I love smell. Again, there is a psychology of smell. A lot of businesses use it. There's a psychology of smell. And so not only do things that smell good trigger amazing memories, or sometimes memories that may not be so amazing, because it's held within our body. When we go through our olfactory senses, it is an immediate shift of energy. And so all of my candles have been dressed with crystals. I've blessed them, they've been prayed over. But even if you're not using them for candle magic, which I'll be teaching in one of my classes, even if you're not using them for candle magic, simply having them as part of your self-care routine is an amazing way for you to really start to infuse the power of smell into your everyday life. Another thing that I use are my manifestation baths. And so with these baths, it's really powerful because not only, again, are we using the power of smell, and so even outside of the fact that they work because of the crystal makeup and the fact that they work because of how they shift your energy, the power of smell is just such an amazing way to really create change. And so one simple ritual that I do with the bath is in the bath, first, you'll get clean, right? So the purpose of this is not to take a physical bath. So first you'll get clean your body. And then you'll use now these bags are humongous. This is the 12.5 ounce size. And so with these, you really only need a couple tablespoons. You'll place it into a bath of water. And as you step in, I want you to imagine that you are stepping into a cleansing space where whatever you desire, you're literally steeping in that. You then will take the water, and you can do this in the shower as well. You'll then take the water and go over each of your chakra points. So you'll start at your crown chakra, moving to your third eye, moving to your throat, to your heart, and so forth. And you're going to set an intention. If you're using this specifically for cleansing, then you also will want to move in circular motions. But if it's just part of your normal self-care routine, having that Calgon take me away moment, and the fact that these have been blessed with crystals, the fact that there's also some scent intuition going in with that, it absolutely is a really, really powerful way to just quickly change your mood, quickly change your energy so that you can get back to creation. So I know that Cami just said that she's out of her crystal, and out of her candle. I think right now we have about 5 cents on the site. And so if you are wanting to grab some candles, if you're wanting to grab some bats, if you're wanting to grab some magical wands, which we'll talk about in just a second, you can absolutely head over to gumroad.com/Pierre and use code Alchemy to receive 10% just because you're part of this class. So again, that's gumroad.com/Pierre. Use code Alchemy to save 10% on all of your products. We also have the holistic self-care workbook there. And so with that, it is pay what you can. So the value of that workbook honestly is priceless. If you really put things into place that are given to you and you do the exercises, you're immediately going to see results in your life. And so pay what you can, pay what you feel it's worth. If you have $1, pay $1. If you have $1,000, hey, I'll take that too. But it's not really about the money. I just need you guys to have these resources. So that code applies to everything except the self-care workbook. For everything else, it's 10% off. For the self-care workbook, it's pay what you can. So as long as you pay $1 or more, it's yours. So I'm going to quickly just go through the rest of these, and then I'm going to take any questions that you may have. So if you have questions for me, again, go ahead, start dropping those in the comments, and I'll get to those in just 1 second. So I told you about my bats. I told you about my candles. Another thing that I use, and technically this, I guess, would go with the power of touch, are wands. Manifestation wands are such an amazing way, wands and crystals are such an amazing way to create transformative energy. And so with this wand, essentially, it's a great way to amplify your energy. And so what you're going to do, and this is one, I have a few different varieties on the site. And so what you're going to do is using the power of copper, using the power of crystals. It allows you to take that energy from your hand, and I just showed you a few different ways that you can literally move energy to your hand. And so you're going to take this energy that once was in your hand, and now when you hold it in your hand, this wand, it literally becomes an extension of the energy that's coming from your hand. So again, here's the wand, and I have one other type here. So this is one that I use for my Reiki work. And so essentially, what you're going to do with these wands is you are going to envision the power coming from your hand through the palm of your hand to the wand. Okay, so it's important to note that anything outside of you is simply a tool. Anything outside of you is a tool. And so with this wand, you can do it with your finger, right? It's just a tool. But the great thing about using tools is that it makes it easier. When you're struggling with really tapping into your power, when you're not knowing what your power looks like, sometimes using tools is a really quick way to test what you already know. So using this wand, you're going to envision the thing that you desire to create. And we're going to do just a quick exercise called air scripting. And so with this, you literally use this to write what you desire, right? So if you have a wand, I know a number of you have already purchased your wands. And if you're needing your wand, head over to the Gumroad site, gumroad.com/VanierPierre. Use Alchemy, you will save 10%. And so you can watch this replay and do this along with me. So I want you to imagine the power, and I'm silly. I like to have fun when I manifest. I think that's the quickest way, because when you have fun, you are present. So I imagine that I'm on my Harry Potter. And so I want you to think of one word that embodies what you desire to put out into the world right now. And taking a deep breath in through your nose and out through your mouth. I just want you to write that thing in the air. We're going to script it. So once your intention is out, and we're just going to say thank you, knowing that it's already done. If you are in a place where you say, you know what, I don't know how to tap into my energy, but I have this wand, but I don't know how to tap into my energy, so I can't amplify my energy. Then one way that you can work with it is in the same way that you would work really with any crystals. And so holding it in your hand, you are going to set the intention that for how you desire it to support you. So I have a class already on crystals. I'm not going to get into that. We have just a few minutes left. So I'm not going to get into that. You can search it on YouTube. It's What the Hell Are Crystals Anyway? And I break down everything about what crystals are, why they work, etc. So knowing that crystals are attuned to a certain energy and that the silica in crystals aligns with the minerals that are in our body, and that is why it helps, is because basically it's aligning your body to its natural energy, or it's raising up the energy in your body to match the energy in that crystal, right? So I want you to set the intention for how you desire your wand to support you. So this particular crystal, or wand rather, this one is the hematite, citrine, and clear quartz wand. And so this one is amazing for alchemizing energy. It's amazing with the citrine period that already helps with transmuting negative energy. So basically it's almost like a blocker. Negative energy comes and it's like, and not only are you not allowed in, not only will I set healthy boundaries, we're also now going to renegotiate some agreements. And so this one is really great for transmuting energy. And so essentially what you will do is you will work with this for 7 to 10 days. And what I suggest is simply setting aside some time each day, getting clear on what you want the wand to do for you, how you want it to support you. And simply as you go through your normal routine, so if you are meditating with it, if you are playing your sound bowl, simply envisioning that as you tap into your power, the energy flows from your crown chakra through your body, through your hand, and out through your wand. And so for 7 to 10 days, really sitting with the intention that you have and using it to pick up the energy, if you will, right? Using it to so as I, for example, am putting together my crystal grid, which is another thing that I have on the site. So definitely check that out. So with the crystal grid, it comes with the full grid pattern. And so with this pattern, let's say that you have no idea how to really tap into your power, but you know that you want to manifest something. So as you are setting down your crystals on your grid, as you're setting your intention, you're going to want to just hold your wand. You can hold it at your heart. I find that holding my wand at my heart, it's really easy to be able to feel the energy flowing from the wand to me, from me to the wand, and back and forth. And so as you are doing that, you literally, as energy is building within you, you then are extending that to the wand. And so then once you feel confident in the fact that you know how to move your energy throughout your body, move your energy to your hands, to your wand, literally anything that you create with this wand then is activated, because it's activated by the power of you. The copper amplifies it, the clear quartz amplifies it, but it's all your power. Right? So I know that we are a little bit over, and for that, I am so sorry. But if you have any questions about how to use these tools, what tools to pick out, etc., go ahead and drop those comments in the, if you're on YouTube, go ahead, drop them there. If you are on Facebook, go ahead and drop the comments. And I do believe that you have to have accepted, if you are watching from Facebook, you have to have accepted the permission so that we can see your name. So go ahead and drop your comments. And I'm just going to keep talking a little bit about a few other things that you can find in the store. Again, head over to gumroad.com/Pierre. Code is Alchemy to save 10%. Okay, so we talked about crystals. Crystal grids are a really powerful way to manifest and to transmute energy. I encourage you to check out my video, How I Manifested $15,000 in 4 days using crystal grids. And so with those, I walk you through exactly how to put them together and all of that. So I'm not going to get into exactly that, but I do want to talk a little bit about how you can use that to create what you want. And I think there's no more fitting way for us to end our time together than to use some of these products that I've talked about and actually put this grid together, praying for peace and for harmony in our country and in our world. So again, if you have any questions, feel free to do that while I'm putting the grid together. But I'm just going to talk and set my intention while we do so. So again, each of the crystal grids is going to come with a grid pattern. It's also going to come with all of the crystals that you need. So each of them comes with a pack of about 13 crystals. So this particular one is my peace and protection grid. And so with this peace and protection crystal grid, this has stones such as amethyst, hematite, rose quartz, right? One really, really powerful way to activate your grids is through using selenite. And so if you are looking for a good wand, selenite is another really great one. I also have those available in the store. And in just a second, we will be working with that as well. And so just because I think crystals are so gorgeous, here are some of the crystals that are included in this pack. Okay, so we have some chevron amethyst, some beautiful, beautiful rose quartz. And the website for those who are looking, it's gumroad.com/Pierre. Again, code is Alchemy, and that is only for people taking this class. So be sure to go ahead and get that. So I'm just going to go ahead and start placing my grid. So there are full instructions with the grid. So when you go and get your grid, don't worry about if you remember exactly what I did. Instructions are included. But basically, I'm just going to start with my intention. You'll want to create a safe space whenever you're doing any type of manifestation ritual. And one way to simply do that is to set an intention. And so my intention is that for everyone who watches this video, for everyone that hears my voice, that there is peace, that there is joy, that there is strength, and that you remember the magic you have inside to create the change you desire. And so with that intention, I'm going to go ahead and start placing my stones. Again, there are full instructions, and there's also a training that is available on my YouTube channel. So if you have any questions about how crystal grids work, then you can go ahead and check that out. As I'm placing my stones, I'm setting the intention for peace. I'm setting the intention for community. I'm setting the intention that there is love. First, self-love, because we know that the way we experience the world is a reflection of the way we experience ourselves. And so I desire that everyone watching experiences the most amazing relationship with self, first and foremost. One of the things I love about this particular grid is it also comes with hematite. And hematite is really amazing, again, for blocking negative energy. And so sometimes, even when you are doing your best to stay lifted and you are doing your best to stay in a space of high vibration, you're feeling good, sometimes there are energies that just want to pull you down. And so with hematite, this is a really great stone to carry, especially if you work in a toxic environment or you are constantly surrounded by energy that you need to block. It also is really great if you do energy work, if you are an empath, if you are clairsentient. It's really amazing for just helping you start to reflect some of that energy, return to sender. That's what I think of hematite, right? So for my healers out there, you definitely want to get this pack. And the great thing about the pack is that it actually includes not only everything that you need, but it comes in a perfect little carrying pouch. And so you can, even when you're not using it with the grid, you can slip it in your pocket, slip it in your purse, slip it in your bra so that you're always protected. Okay, so now that my grid is set out, I'm just going to say a short prayer. And I want to thank everyone who has been watching, everyone who has shared this. Again, if you have any questions, go ahead and drop those. I just want to set the intention that as you go about your weekend, as you start a new week, that you remember that nothing has the power to change you unless you allow it. You are mighty beyond measure. Your experiences, your feelings, your emotions, they matter. And so right now, the best way to create the change that you desire is to get the lessons of those emotions, of those feelings, transmute that energy, and then focus it on what you desire to manifest. And so using my selenite, just gonna go ahead and same way that I used my other wand. So selenite is so powerful because it's an instant cleanser, and it's one of the only crystals that actually cleanses itself as well. So you can not only use it to cleanse yourself, you can use it to cleanse your crystals, you can use it to cleanse your home. Like, I look at this as my personal sage. Honey, I carry this thing around when I need to clear some energy really quickly. So you can absolutely use it to cleanse your personal energy, clear your chakras, and really align your energy. But you can also use it to activate your grid. So you can use the wand I showed you before or this wand. They're only called wands because of the shape, for those who wonder why it's called a wand. It's called a wand because of the shape, because it's able to direct energy. So in the same way as the other wand, the energy flows from your hand through the tip of the wand. So going ahead and just activating my grid. Knowing that the intention that we have set for peace and what we desire to bring out into the world is already done. Knowing that what we're asking for is already done. Now that I've activated my wand, I like to test my grids. Even though I know it's set up correctly, I like to actually see it because I am very much a visual and kinesthetic learner. And so I need to know that this thing worked. I have some really amazing orgonite that I've created and amazing products. And so it's important that you test it and know, is this actually tuned to the right energy that I need? And so one way to do so is through the use of pendulums. And so the last thing I want to show you tonight are my gorgeous pendulums. And so now that we have activated this wand, I'm going to go ahead and test it out using the pendulum. Another way that you can use pendulum is to connect with your intuition. And I have a few classes available on that Gumroad site that talk about how to connect with your intuition through the use of pendulums. And I'll also be doing another masterclass on that. So again, be sure to check out Gumroad if you want access to that. But one simple way is to hold your pendulum over your grid. And so as I bid you farewell, I'm just holding it up higher so that you can actually see it working over the grid. And so as you see it moving, you can tell that it is placed correctly. If you have any issues when you're putting your grids together and you see that you're not able to get your pendulum to react, sometimes you just need to check your placement. So we can tell that it's placed correctly. And so as I bid you farewell, I want to just rest in this energy of peace that we have created together. I thank you so much for spending your evening with me. And I'm looking forward to all of your amazing success stories as you shift the energy that you've been feeling and start to create the things you desire. Like I said, I'm not responsible if you have any babies. I just want to be the godmama. So definitely use your sex energy and your manifestation energy and your alchemy energy to really create the change that you desire to see. I thank you for spending time with me. And know that we are in this together and we can get through this together. Namaste.